Okay, making my second attempt at this. I almost put in some stuff that someone was listening to and they were, really struggling on Nofap. Day one, day two, day three might have caused a relapse. I didn't want to make, this kind of remarks, but um, as you all know, if you can watch my latest videos, for those folks who, maybe they just subscribed, maybe they've been following me for a while, but um, I've really been struggling with just the state of my life right now. Combination of boredom, anxiety, and depression. Really like emotional downturn, and I've gotten into some triggering material, and it's caused a lot of the same effects that a full-blown relapse would cause. And I was coping with it for a while there with some intense cardio, going out walking and jogging, walking, jogging, sprinting, that sort of deal, and going for 5-6 miles at a time, and that was taking the edge off it for a couple of days there. But yesterday I ended up back in the triggering material category, and it was one of those sorts of, oh, listen to this, you can lucid dream and maybe have a wet dream, that sort of deal, which is really a dangerous mindset to go into. That's kind of material. I don't know if what I just said would be considered triggering for some folks. Maybe it is, and if it is, I apologize for that. But of course, the stuff that I said in my earlier recording, I felt was way worse because it was literally the title of the track, and I don't want someone going and watching that or listening to that because it's basically this like track where you listen to it and it's supposed to be 8 hours long and like a 8 hour sleep cycle, and the first like 2 hours are just like relaxing music combined with some silence, and so like you put that on, you lay down, you fall asleep, and while you're asleep after 2.5 hours, let's say, then the auditory stuff starts that would kind of subliminally cause you to have a nocturnal mission, which is kind of the idea. It's like this whole sort of trying to find a loophole out of Nofap mentality, which is really dangerous. And it's logically, rationally speaking, when I'm thinking about it in a really, I think the word is dispassionate sense, without passion, without emotion, it's not the right thing to do, and I shouldn't have been doing that. But I went and listened to that, was laying in bed, face down, which is, ironically enough, it's like that. That's whenever I really fall asleep. Usually I'm usually just laying face down. But, again, when you're listening to this kind of stuff, it's probably not the best idea. But I ended up essentially in a trance-like state. I was kind of like half awake, half asleep. And you could kind of say that I had something of a wet dream in a sense, but I wasn't fully asleep, and that kind of woke me up fully. And I've been feeling the effects since then. It's like in the moment it felt obviously great. This whole release, and I was relieving myself in that sort of sense. The whole dealing with dealing with blue balls, if you will. To use that slang term. But now I'm really feeling the effects, and I'm feeling irritable. I've been feeling, and I was feeling irritable before that just because I was watching triggering materials and that sort of deal. I'm feeling irritable, feeling like a real desire for social isolation, all those things that Gary Wilson mentions, and Matt's what it is. He in his one of his videos, and I went and watched that. Where he kind of had a little, like, he kind of inserted or embedded a clip of Gary Wilson, talking about the stuff in his video. But I've been having that, those sorts of symptoms. Not all of them, because of how long I've been on Nofap and how long, I've been at this. So I do have an awareness of what's going on, and I wouldn't say I compulsively do this kind of stuff, but it's been like this really low point where it's becoming more and more towards the end of being compulsive, where like if I had a choice between doing X versus doing, laying in bed and looking up stuff on YouTube and, trying to skirt the edge and, look at triggering stuff or listening to triggering material, like, it's getting increasingly hard to say no to the triggering stuff, and especially with this last event. But I would just say, and this has come from experience, and I really don't know if I mentioned this in this last couple of videos, because, my mind's kind of a little bit out there, so to speak, right now, but I just say don't play with fire, and it's harder to, I think, really listen to that advice when you're in that sort of state of being emotionally, overwhelmed, and you're just wanting to get that escape, get that rush, get that release, relieve yourself, and that's really like what you're desiring. But playing with fire is dangerous, and I'm at that point right now where I could end up wasting the whole next week doing this stuff, and I really don't want to. And I suppose this is kind of part of the part of the process, but part of it is I think this whole like question of like what is a relapse, this whole I don't know if it's so much of a struggle, but this step you have to go through defining a relapse. And I could define this as a relapse, but I know the way my mind works, and I know I'm rambling right now. It's it's kind of part of the whole side effect I feel of going back into this kind of stuff, just getting all scatterbrained. But I know if I tell myself this is a relapse, I'm gonna justify like literally hopping on some porn site and fapping away, because it's day zero. Might as well get my fill before I get back on the road or whatever. And I know exactly what I'm gonna go watch, which videos, which actresses, etc., etc., etc. I know all that stuff. I have the list in my mind. I've been looking at some stuff relating to those, women and the material they produce. Not going to porn sites, not going, onto Google Images or anything like of that nature, but definitely triggering stuff relating to them. And I know that if I tell myself this is a relapse, I'm going to go, screw it, what's the point of holding back? Get what you've been wanting to get for a while, that sort of a deal. And I'll end up in a daze for the rest of the week. Wake up on Sunday, basically Sunday or Monday, and, have to then get all my stuff together and head up to, Northern California, to the Bay Area. And it's just going to be a complete another mess. And I don't just mean like physically in some sort of disgusting, sense, but mentally. Because I know with what I pretend to be attempting, what I have a desire and intention to succeed at, I can't do anything other than hit the ground running. And this also reminds me of some other video that That's What It Is did. I actually like a lot of his content. I mean, some of it does kind of feel a bit scripted, like too well edited, so to speak. Maybe that's from my perspective, not knowing really all that much about video editing. Maybe if you do that enough, you get enough enough of a skill set that it can take you 5 minutes to edit a video, make it look good. But he talked about another video about intent and like him struggling with this. He has a desire to watch pornography just as much as he has a desire to not watch it, and so I say here, and it's like I know that I got to hit the ground running this next semester, starting off right away. And that's, if I truly have the intention to succeed, the intention to make it to graduation, the intention to not get kicked out of school, not be stuck working minimum wage jobs, going from temp agency to temp agency, barely scraping by, and just growing old alone and, dying a really sad, horrible, death. At least for someone living in a first world country. But this stuff is so distracting, So I define it as a relapse. Let's say I'll end up binging. If I don't define it as a relapse, and I just kind of try to basically give myself a slap on the wrist with this, I'm going to keep on sliding in that direction, and eventually, even if I'm not getting addicted to pornography in and of itself, I'm going to get addicted to something else, get addicted to the loophole, so to speak, and the underlying problem will not be resolved, and I will still have the same bloody effects, because it's like, I look at so much of this stuff in life, and I just feel like I'm making it harder than it has to be. And I really don't know. I gotta figure out some sort of strategy to deal with these kinds of events, because these kinds of occurrences, whether we're talking about a slip up, a setback, a relapse, or just bad things happening in my life. Because right now, this thing happening, it's not necessarily the end of the world right now, but this happens, again, like it did last fall in the middle of a semester, where I'm taking full course load of upper division engineering courses. It will be the end of the world in many ways. I mean, assuming I don't have a heart attack or something of like that nature, I will continue to be alive physically, but I'm not going to be truly alive, because of reasons that make sense to me, that I don't necessarily want to argue about or so. We each have our different things that we consider important to ourselves, but enough of my rambling. I'm going to get to the second part of this video now and try to actually make a point. All of this has taught me at this point, for one thing, well, not all of that's been taught to me, but all of these recent events, I think the big point that they've taught me is that I need a system in place for dealing with being overwhelmed by negative emotions and being able to process them in a manner that is not detrimental. It's kind of like that scene in Stripes where John Candy's talking about how he had anger issues and he swallowed a lot of his anger along with a lot of pizzas. Obviously his character was trying to cope with the anger and frustration in life through stress eating. And I do remember last fall being overwhelmed by stress and anxiety, and then jumping onto pornography to cope with it, to get rid of those negative emotions, and I can't let that happen again. So one of the things that I really wish to do, and I know I'm going to have to start doing it this week, these last few days that I'm here, just to get the ball rolling, but somehow I'm going to be motivating myself enough to get up at like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning and go running. And just make that a habit. Get in 3 to 6 miles a day and just do it. That's one thing. Then I'm making it a point to be taking cold showers. That's another thing. And doing that every single day in the morning. And beyond that, I think the next level down from that, there's the things that I can do when I have the time. But if I'm in a real time crunch and I'm stressing out and feeling anxiety, I think just doing some calisthenics, doing some push-ups, doing some crunches, even if it's just a set of 10 push-ups or 20 crunches or so, that's what I'm going to do. That's the next thing. Failing that, it's going to have to rely on me talking myself through it, doing self-parenting, to use the terminology from internal family systems model therapy. Failing all of those things, assuming that I have the time, probably getting up and going out for a short walk. And if that doesn't do anything, Well, let's see. I'll probably just put myself in some social situation, probably the library, on the silent floor, studying on my own. And all this is going to have to coincide with me decreasing my internet usage, decreasing my social media usage. Now, I can't completely eliminate that. You know, I have Facebook and I have that so far to communicate with the girlfriend. That's really necessary to a certain extent, you know. But sitting on there for hours and hours and hours, you know, it's not that it's just the Nofap that it's not helping. It's also not helping with life in general, you know. It's kind of like you'll go and you'll think that you're getting 3 hours of work done, but you actually only did half an hour of real work, and the other 2.5 hours you were on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter or Periscope or whatever, you know. And not necessarily that you're looking at pornography, but you're just wasting time entertaining yourself to death, you know. And so I'm going to have to restrict that. I'm going to set certain hours for when I can use the internet and what I can use it for. And, you know, again, a certain amount of internet usage is almost necessary. My school is sort of an online hub where the professors put up their assignments and so on and so forth. So, you know, inevitably I'm going to have to be using the internet to a certain extent to either get my assignments or submit them or, you know, be in contact with the girlfriend. And I had, you know, 2 YouTube channels, and I want to continue vlogging, especially on this one, because this is really one of the things that's helped me the most is, you know, putting up videos, feeling a little sense of accomplishment from making a video as opposed to, you know, fapping. It's like, okay, I made a vlog, I didn't go and watch porn today, you know, yay me, that sort of thing. But also just being able to discuss my emotions and my experiences in life and process them without having to be automatically afraid of being just criticized and attacked left and right, you know. So I definitely want to keep that up. But again, all these things are going to be dependent on, for one thing, limiting my internet usage and, by extension, social media usage. Not because those things are evil in and of themselves, but because not only do I need to cut down on my exposure to, you know, triggers, let's say, but I need to force myself to use my time better. Because, you know, it's like they'll say, like, okay, if you're taking these engineering courses, you need to do like time and a half, you know, outside study hours. So you're taking, or no, not time and a half, let's say more like three times. Let's say you're taking, you know, full course load, 12 units. That means, you know, I had to spend like about 36 to 40 hours of studying per week. Now, that doesn't mean just sitting there pretending like you're studying. That means actual, like, 3 to 4 hours per day. Or actually more than that. More like, 5 hours per day, let's say. Of real hard studying. You know, getting actual things done, making progress, you know. Even if that just means generating questions that you're going to ask the professor during their office hours the next day, you know. Or that same day, whatever. You have to be doing that kind of study, not pretending like you're studying, going, oh, I studied 10 hours a day and I got so, you know, so little done, you know, but hey, I studied 10 hours, you know. It has to actually be effective. And that means limiting distractions. Now, pornography is a really hard one for me to limit. Hence why I'm on Nofap. Hence why, you know, I'm still struggling with addiction, even though I've gone through 6 months of this. Or actually more than 6 months. Because, I mean, fundamentally cutting past all my underlying issues and my, you know, emotional micro traumas and all that kind of stuff, which are definitely issues, and I need to, you know, work my way through those, because that leads down to the bigger issues. But cutting past all of that, so much of it is the fact that with pornography I can simulate, you know, being with as many hot women as I want to be with, however I want to be with them, etc., you know, in more and more stimulating circumstances without having to do any real work for it. I don't have to go out there and talk to the girls. I don't got to have the social skills. I don't have to have the status, the resources, I don't have to work out, eat healthy. I don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. I can just pretend like I'm already there and I got all the babes I want, And it's not true and it's not real, but man, is it distracting and stimulating and addicting. So, all those things that I've said that I will be, having to do and will be doing, that's my plan, kind of starting off from the top, working my way down. And, worst comes worse, planning for a real failure point. If I have to fap, just like, David Ballesteros or Ballesteros said, I'm going to make sure that it's without pornography. At the very least, very, very least, I'm talking like a low bar, lowest point ever. No pornography. Because it's like, for one thing, if I'm going to talk about this whole Nofap thing as, what's one of the main problems, or what is one of the biggest problems, or the biggest problem externally speaking, it's the pornography. Without pornography, masturbation just becomes boring and it becomes unstimulating. You may have, let's say, 5 girls that you find attractive who are in your vicinity, and once you fantasize about them enough, without having actually acted on it, the fantasy and the masturbation loses its touch, But you toss in streaming internet pornography and those 5 girls become 500, become 500,000, become 5 million, And that's really where the danger lies, I feel. Insofar as it, prevents you from contending with and resolving the real issues in your life that prevent you from living life to the fullest and therefore feeling happy at all, or fulfilled. So, those are my plans. That's what's been going on with me lately. I'm really having a tough time insofar as, not just contending with all this stuff, but really defining a relapse and, figuring out where exactly I stand on these things. Because all I can really say for certain is this is my lowest point in this streak. If I'm not careful, if I don't go and do what's necessary, I'm going to end up on some porn site. I know the way my mind is working, the way I'm feeling right now. It's like it's kind of like my appetite has just been whetted a little bit. I haven't been fulfilled. I haven't, gotten the full 6-course meal of PMO. I've just kind of gotten the sort of taste of that. Like, what if I had been fully conscious? What if it hadn't been some audio track on YouTube? What if it had been an actual, porn video and with my quote-unquote favorite actresses and etc., all that kind of like really intensive stuff. Like, what if it had been that, that kind of thought goes through my mind from the addictive segment of my psyche, so that's where I stand right now. I'm sure some out there will watch this and say you relapsed, might as well admit it, that sort of thing, but I'm hoping some folks do understand that how in many ways the addicted mind works, It looks for any bloody excuse to binge. Or any bloody excuse to go all the way and just say, screw it, it's day 0, let's have some fun. Tomorrow you can get back on the horse and, there'll be nothing different, nothing will have changed, nothing will have gotten worse, it's just gonna be one day, man, So anywho, don't listen to that voice, that's going on in your mind that's saying that it's not going to matter, it's not going to make a difference. Hey, you relapse, let's go binge, or you edged, let's go, relapse and binge, or, you listen to some triggering content, some stuff happened, hey, let's go and edge, relapse, binge, that sort of deal. Because that doesn't lead anywhere good, and it's just going to undo so much progress that you made, even if you've only gone through a day or 2 or 3 or a week's worth, of Nofap. It's going to undo your progress, and that's pointless, So, I know it sounds kind of hypocritical for me to be saying that, but I don't want somebody to end up, not gaining some sort of encouragement from this video to keep on the path. So anywho, I'm gonna head back home and face my irritability and my desire for isolation and all that kind of stuff. But it's all part of the process, all part of the struggle, and I'm just gonna try to get back on the road without essentially crashing my car into a tree, aka full-blown no kidding yourself, actual relapse. So anywho, see you folks around. Good luck, stay strong, keep on the path, don't give up, and don't listen to that addicted part of your mind that's telling you to go and relapse and do this sort of stuff. Maybe you're being overwhelmed by negativity or boredom or anxiety in your life, but there are so many other things you could be doing to cope with that would lead to positive results. Even something as simple as going for a walk or doing some push-ups or crunches or hopping on that stationary bike and pedaling away against some sort of resistance, and getting a sweat going and taking cold showers and hanging out with some friends or whatever the heck it is that you got to do to not be doing that and actually get some sort of relief, that doesn't have to do with PMO or feed into a sex addiction or any sorts of other kind of addiction. So anywho, said that a bunch of times, but see you folks around. Thanks for watching my content. Thanks for likes, the comments, the subscriptions. And I really do appreciate the support. This path has been really difficult for myself. I know it's not been easy for others. No, I'm not alone in that. It's the very least thing. I know that I'm not all alone on this Nofap path. But the support really is appreciated, and it really does have a positive effect on me. And helps me to keep going, and grants me more insights into this whole deal, which definitely does some real good for me, and hopefully for others who may also be following and see the comments. Maybe that helps them as well, just as much as I hope my content helps someone out there. So that's it for me. Bye. Take care. Bye.